Hello, welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And let's get into this discussion for wizards only, occultists, and let's get into it. So, I was thinking about a self help program I went through. And in the program, they would just say, as kind of like a catchphrase, step left and forward. And over the years, I was thinking about that. You know, we get caught in a rut, we get stuck in things that we took personal, and we block our energy. And so we we ruin relationships. We ruin our financial freedom, careers. We get caught up in shit. We took stuff personal. We get triggered. And I really started thinking of like under the sink, there's that pipe that kind of has a S shape, and the drain gets clogged. And that image kept coming up to my mind, and I'm thinking, step left and forward. So, how do I navigate, move around this blockage? We could have a mental block, we could have a spiritual block. And visually, how can I map this out? So, the Tree of Life is a shaman's map. And in shamanism, you create a map of the psychological worlds or other dimensions that you enter and navigate through. And in really practical terms, the Tree of Life is a map, and it's an archetypal symbol. In every culture, trees have been used. So when we think of a mind map, it kind of branches. You might start with a keyword and it branches out to many words associated with it. So we've learned that the mind works with association. It also works with images. And I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And I was on this guy's YouTube channel learning all about Pisces and his views and everything. And he has Scorpio placements, Pisces placements, and Aquarius placements. And then all of a sudden, after all these videos and amazing conversations, he's like, well, I believe in Jesus, and tarot and astrology is of the devil. It's evil. And I'm like, hold on, just listen to him before you just go off, before you feel like you need to attack or defend, assert that Mars energy. And, I kind of was like, okay, gotta be receptive, gotta use your intuition. And you also just gotta be patient and listen to the man. If he has all this wisdom and insights from his perspective, let's listen. And I could see where he was coming from. People use tarot and astrology and magical systems like witchcraft um, to replace their own personal power, their own connection to source, and their own will to create. And so my ex-best friend, she was Scorpio with Aquarius placements and Virgo placements. And she was into shamanism, but then would go be like, wait, Jesus. And so one reason why I disassociated from our friendship is because of this dualistic alliance. Like, which one is it? In the end, is it Jesus or is it the occult? And it's actually kind of typical of the Scorpion energy to be interested in all things occult or to be somehow sucked into it. Cult just means hidden. And usually when things are hidden, people just assume dark. But really, any knowledge that's above you or hidden from you would be occultated. Occult, the word occultated, is actually an astrological term. Like when the moon is hiding behind the sun, or planets are hiding behind the sun, or planets are hiding behind other planets, they're considered occultated. Um, Possibly void, of course. When I think the shadow of the earth masks the moon, uh, you know, that's a dark moon. So that would definitely be occultated. When the moon's void, of course, it's in between two signs. So sorry about that. But in a weird way, it slips between the cracks. It is occultated in a void, of course, as well. So, but basically, and then, I listened more. And then his other point of view, which is very true. Someone who puts themselves in a preaching position, I have the power, I have the knowledge, I have the wisdom to guide you, separates you from source energy. So that could be a book, it could be a mentor, a guru. Like, I literally think gurus are false gods. And though they may assist you at some level, in the end, they block you from having your own intimate relationship with that which is, that which creates the world, that, you know, and so therefore it is truly evil. But did the system do it? Did the guru do it? Did the leader? Did the YouTube influencer do that? Your hero, your mascot, your religion, your special beliefs, your identity, did it do that? No. You did that because you put it on a pedestal. They only took advantage of it. They go, well, you might as well pay me. And yes, I blessed you. They either consciously or unconsciously understand mirroring. So this is a big subject, but I should probably save that for another video on how psychic abilities work and how you are licensing your own psychic ability, your own intuition. You're leasing it out to the mirror reflection. And I really just said it there. So you lease out your power to a guru, and they have godlike abilities to maybe read your mind or do a healing. You lease out your energy to a Reiki healer, an energy worker. You lease out your power to a god or a goddess, and they can only reflect it back. When you're unconscious of you leasing it out, you experience the projection back at you and go, whoa, that's an amazing healing, or whoa, that's an amazing insight. And so I actually have a book, and it's on tarot, and it's actually called The Book of Mirrors. The title tells you what the cards are. They're mirror reflections. Now, let's move on. In Kabbalah teachings, it is taught there's the four worlds. And with the four worlds are veils. And the veils aren't clearly delineated. There's many veils, many layers, and each sphere is a tree within a tree within a tree. So that we get this fractal pattern, we get this layered pattern. And so to graduate through a sphere, each sphere has a full tree. So anyways, we'll bring this down. Most of what you see with occultism as sold and packaged as witchcraft, as voodoo, as a practitioner selling it to you, happens at the level of the moon. And wizard thinking here. So here's some philosophy, here's some ideas. Notice how it's all packaged in some type of symbol system. And the symbol system is universal because it's a closed system. We assume our universe, whatever it is, you can basically draw a circle and say, this is the universe. And everything in it is all possibilities. So even within that circle, infinite expansion and infinite contraction. But it all happens within a universe. What's on the outside of the universe? So the tarot is a universal system, and because it represents all possibilities within the limitation of a deck of cards, and that deck of cards represents all possibilities. So there's a paradox there, but it's there. And so from beginning to end, the cycle can repeat infinitely. It's a circle, which matches up very well with astrology. Now, we look at the tree of life and it doesn't look like a circle. But but when you put the planets in the spheres, then you can actually see orbiting planets. Now you can start to gain some insights. And so having a good working knowledge of the system you choose to use, I really love the Kabbalah because it actually grounds out into this reality. And it can also take on the challenges of other realities. So modern practitioners basically read a few books on Kabbalah. Then they change the words to densities, levels, layers, vibrational frequencies, and actually some of the greatest scientists that ever walked the earth studied the Kabbalah. Our founding fathers studied the Kabbalah or occultism. So Kabbalah has been the key of Western mystery school tradition of occultism, period. Uh, like it just is. But it is a system, it's a model. And so, can you make your own model? Now, this is where thinking like a wizard comes in. And so, in some of our previous videos on unlocking the Kabbalah, I gave you how a triangle and the hexagram unlock the patterns, and we started seeing as above, so below, as within, so without. And then we started learning interconnections, how the repetition, pattern. And so the 7 Hermetic principles are in the tree of life. And is this a tree of life? The answer is yes. But you're like, Onyx, that doesn't look like the standard tree of life. Well, you know what most people don't realize? The tree of life started off as concentric circles. And then it was reshaped, repatterned to look like a hexagon, and then repatterned again to get that asymmetrical hexagon. It kind of like dips down a little bit farther at Malkuth, at where the earth is. And so after watching this guy's videos, kind of tangent over here a little bit, and him saying astrology and tarot is evil and of the devil, everything's Jesus, I'm going, okay, this is not an initiate. So they don't know how to handle the cards, nor do they know how to put together astrology in its fullness. So that person needs to get an education in Western mystery tradition. So, and what's really bizarre is all this starts with Jesus. When I was being invited into a Western mystery school by secret invitation only, by visions and dreams, I literally had a vision of Jesus Christ. But, okay, Jesus is known as a Kabbalist. He's also known as a mystic who ascended. He practiced ascension. And realized himself. Is it any wonder that there's 33 degrees in the Masonic order? Is it any wonder that Jesus went missing for 33 years? So you start putting, so in very loose terms, you can say, look at the details. Can you see the patterns and a symbolic language as a symbolist being expressed through myth? Whether Jesus existed or not, who knows? But the Christ figure um, is a symbol for a lot of Westerners who grew up maybe with Christianity, a mythical religion. I call it Christian mythology. Um, the Christ represents the inner self. So Carl Jung basically said when you integrate your shadow and your feminine or masculine polar opposite and you achieve union, you get to experience the true self. And this is actually individuation. So when you really get to experience yourself in your fullness, an image of Christ can appear. So the holy guardian angel in occult terms is what appears when you have a visitation by your angel. What's happening is it's your integrated self. It looks divine. And so symbols, so everything is just pure energy, consciousness, force, oneness. And as you interact with it, it clothes itself in symbols. So an assertive force of the universe, you're interacting with it. As it hits your mind, it accesses your subconscious as a database. And it will pull up images that you understand because it's trying to interact with you. And so what was in my database? Well, I grew up in this crazy, strange, an skewed version of Christianity. And so the Christ figure showed up. If I didn't understand psychology, and I didn't at the time, not fully, but I know the difference between a vision and a dream and a hallucination and a self-made image, and that I incubated myself. Like, there's nuances to this. So this is a key factor: nuance. A refined understanding of differences within an experience was probably how I would define nuance. It's a deeper understanding, but these fine gradients of this understanding give totally different perspectives. So when I have a vision, anyways, I had this vision of Christ, and he was like the chariot card. He was riding a chariot, a golden chariot with a lion on, with a lion like emblazoned on the front, kind of like a shield on this chariot. And he was like riding lion. He was riding one real lion that was pulling the chariot in front of him, and out of the lion's mane were 3 snakes. One was black, one was white, and one was green. And all this awesomeness around it like was happening. Like, everything around him was like, fantastical. And it just came riding in. And I was blown away. And I'm like, I don't even believe in Jesus. I'm not even associated. I don't have no alliance or allegiance to this Jesus Christ thing. I don't want anything to do with Mormons. I don't want anything to do with Christians. Anything in religion. I don't believe in religion, period. Yet I'm having a vision that I cannot deny. So what I really love about this vision and my experiences with spirituality, occult, magic, and mystery is I have very powerful, they ajar, and they go against my psychology. They go against my character that I've built. They go against my ego. They go against my reality. And yeah, I have these things. And then I go, okay. After that vision, things started to open up. I realized the black serpent represented Saturn, the ruler of time. The white serpent represented the moon, the keeper of time, of our daily time. And I realized the green serpent represented Venus and the earth. So all three serpents were keepers of time. Then it was later revealed as I moved, that happened before I got my secret invitation into a mystery school. And I also had a kind of like this lucid dream about the headmaster. I met her a few months before I got my invitation. So things are happening at deeper levels of consciousness or other planes of reality where I was going to go to this mystery school. And I ended up going for free through this mystery school. I got uh, I got like a scholarship. I applied for this. I got the invitation, and the lady who enrolled me, gave me the letter. She also helped me apply for the scholarship, and I got the scholarship, and we went through the program. And at the end, I was like, "Why did you pick me, or why did you go with me? Like, how did this even happen?" She's like, "Well, I just wanted someone to go through the mystery school with me. My husband's not into this. I'm a retired nurse and he's a doctor. So, I kind of paid your way on the down low. But then I didn't want to pay for all of it. I wanted you to put in some effort. So I had you apply for the scholarship. And then near graduation, I ended up having to pay for the last part, which was fine. And it was anticlimactic. And so that was kind of what went down. So, anyways, moving on, like this video kind of took a detour. When you look at the tree of life, it looks something like this, you know, and you can make up your patterns as you want, pathways to move through the system. But so I'm taking, but really what this is you being able to create your own models. The Kabbalah was a model handed down to us, given to us, and it has its own mythology behind it. But it doesn't matter. There is a working model called our solar system. So I'm doing this step left, step forward. How did you get this clog in the drain? I'm like, let's break it down. And so I drew a model or a map. I'm like, okay, here's some pipage. Now, the original one is just one bend in the pipe with one chunk of whatever blocking everything. Then I'm like, maybe it's a series of bends and maybe it's a series of chunks. So on one level, at face value, it just looks like one big blockage. But then when we really start to analyze it, going deeper, we find out it's many little pipelines with little blocks everywhere on different levels. So one level I started off seemed most logical. Whatever's blocking me now happened in a past event. And whatever it was must have been a part of my reality. So let's label that blockage of Earth. And then I moved. I'm like, well, I'm still carrying this block. So it must be part of memory. And it must have etched a record of itself. So it must have been impactful. So it must have energetically affected me, even maybe on a biological level. Let's do that as the moon. See how I'm working up the tree of life through my blockages, but I'm using rational practicality and symbols that actually make sense in a network. And so it's like, well, the moon relates to the body, relates to the subconscious, it relates to the emotions, but I'm not that of an emotional person yet. Energy in motion, emotions. So that qualifies in an emotion. And the way the body's language is emotions. It cries, it feels pain, it feels pleasure, it feels all an array of emotions. And the astral body is emotional. Actually, the etheric body is emotional. The astral body. So I'm like, okay, that would be the second block. And then I'm like, well, we've had a history. Now we have an imprint. So we imprint in childhood, we imprint through our past, and we carry it forward. That's why I have a block today. That's why I have a block, because I'm carrying it forward. And then I'm like, well, now what's going on? Thoughts. Whatever happened, I maybe made a judgment call, like that was painful, or that was no good, or that was wonderful. And then we might talk about it. We're getting other senses in. So we got the emotions, but now we get auditory and neurological things, neural language programming through the gift of language, and it's visual. And so we really seal the deal with thought. And I'm like, that's Mercury. Judgments, thinking, communicating, telling our story. I just got bit by a dog and it was scary and I survived, and now it's recorded in history. I've etched it in. It's programmed into me. And then I'm like, now we get the sun. The planet closest to the sun is Mercury. And I'm like, identity, sense of self, self-concept. Who do I think myself to be? Who am I? I'm the boy who got bit by a dog and survived, and that's my story now. And then I was like, okay, then. And so then I created a mind map or a graph. I also created a symbol that represents the clog, and now it's broken down into parts, and it's related. My mind can relate to it in real terms. There's a real sun, there's Mercury, there's Venus, there's the moon, and they orbit in circles. And so it's real, it's realistic model. And isn't that what magic is all about? Isn't that what a ritual is? So we create a symbolic system of maybe what heaven looks like, what hell looks like. We get the 9 gates of hell. We get the 7 heavens. So through things we understand, like numbers, and we can start moving into abstract realms. And so the wizard specifically puts rationale, logic, reason, thought, and builds a science, builds a system, a cosmology of what the structure of the universe looks like. And isn't that what scientists do? They tell us what an atom looks like theoretically. They tell us what space looks like, and we just agree to it. So wizards create and destroy models of reality. And this is a huge difference between initiated and uninitiated people. It's like uninitiated people go like this is how they don't understand the design, the architect. Like a wizard is an apprentice to the universal architect, and so someone who hasn't gotten education into depth psychology or Jungian psychology archetypes, someone who hasn't had a real education in the tree of life, they only go to the level of the moon. And the level of the moon is very close to the earth, and it receives the images, it receives the imprints. And what's next to it is Venus and Mercury. Mercury gives us information, magical information, and it doesn't really discern truth. And then Venus, who gives us beauty and glamour and reflections. All 3 of them are mirrors. All 3 of them reflect back to Earth. But you don't see the source of these things. And so there's a veil. So there's a veil at the level of the moon. And we have to get through the veil to go to the level of the sun. And the sun represents self, but also represents so much more. And so, until at the level of the sun, things break down into just energy. They're not forms anymore. You don't have a vision of the angel. The vision itself of the angel was way down lower at the level of the moon. And if it, and its beauty, or I should say, it would be at the level of Venus influence. So, and so that's kind of what's going on with occultism. And it's not a religion, and it's not good or evil, and it's knowledge, and it's understanding. And so all we can do is, like, the universe is unknown. Like, it's clothed in forms. That's just the wardrobe. Like, your body is just a coat you take on and take off. Uninitiated people believe in death. They go, "You died." And the initiate goes, "No, I just took my robe off." So Christ and his resurrection is a really good example. So Christ is a Western mystery school initiate. Because you practice occultism doesn't mean you can't be Christian, or incorporate the. So the occultist looks at the Bible and goes, "This is a code. It's an allegory. It's mythology." And within that are keys of a hero's journey. So in a weird way, I'm reading about myself, like the never-ending story. It's all about me. Neville Goddard realized this isn't an actual figure. This is a state of consciousness. This is a level of awareness. Each of the figures and so what type of consciousness would you have to be at to realize you were birthing the Son of God, Mary consciousness? To be her, to understand how you're co-creating with the universe? Whoa. To realize, so there's so a wizard sees everything symbolically and uses those symbols to his advantage to manipulate his inner psychology, alchemy, to change the outer world, alchemy. It's all wizardry. But the wizard sees it kind of mathematically, kind of like a designer and an architect, and can rearrange the pieces according to his will to gain insights. So I just used all my knowledge to help me understand